Firstly, I'd like to talk about the opening shot of the uh, scene for Cliche Hero. It's a tracking shot into a medium shot, so from a wide to a medium. What I'd like to say about it is I thought the movement was nice as I was doing it. I said to Joanna, who was the grip, I'd like about a 5 second, 5 10 second, 5 to 7 second pace on the thing, and I think she did an excellent job on that. But also, I think what I could improve on this scene is maybe the lens choice. The lens choice was it was shot on the 28, and I think a 35 or maybe even a 50, just so we can see more of the girl. I think she's quite far away when you come in, so when you come back, you kind of get the whole desk and all that. But once we get in, it's nice, the desk, we get the desk, and then we come in, we track in more. That's really nice, and then we kind of just stop around, just once we get to the top of the edge of the desk, and it kind of feels a bit empty, and it would have been nice if we just got maybe a bit of a more medium close-up of her, so we're kind of like, we've seen who she is. Now we've been invited in to see who she actually is. And then when it comes in, it just feels like it could have come in a bit more, and I could have maybe, as I was coming in more, tilt down, give her less headroom, and then it would have just been a nice little medium shot of up to her like shoulders, to her head area, which would have been nice. But anyway, that's that. Thing I noticed that I could work on a bit more is, as one of my colleagues spotted, was having my framing of the subjects a bit too much on the edge, a bit, as he said, edging. When I look at now, I can see when I watched it, the edge of some shots. An example would be this one here, where she is walking away from the character back to her position, and as she comes up, and her arm is almost completely sort of cut off, and to my eyes it doesn't look that great, and could have been a bit better. So I think next time when I am operating, I'll keep an eye on the edge of the subject. Thing I needed to get a bit more grips to was the headroom. Headroom is something that never really been taught about, but I've more of, through my experience of cameras and just filming, I've kind of just gotten used to how I do my framing, and some people like different sorts of headroom. So in some clips, there are quite large amounts of headroom, and then in others it's very tight. Just because asking the director or DP how they wanted it, some of them like it quite tight to the head, and then some like it a bit more. But yeah, it's something that I think comes through time and experience. This camera movement for me, this one in this I think went well in some areas. There is one shot in the clip where he sits down and the camera doesn't really follow him in time and kind of jolts a bit, jerk motion. That was one of the little issues. I think I wasn't quite used to the weight of the camera, and also the positioning of the camera was placed beside the corner of the room, beside a wall. So the movement of the camera was quite tricky. So instead of just keeping the handle where it would usually be, I placed it on the other side, of the camera and placed it at an upright position just to stop it from hitting the wall. This helped, but it also made it very awkward to handle the camera. Next, that's something for my first time doing, especially using that sort of tripod head, it was quite tricky to get to grips with, especially with the satchel head, which is weighted. The way I kept the settings, I just kept it to all normal. Like, I didn't really change the settings because when I changed it, it felt quite bouncy and just didn't feel very nice to use. So I just kept the settings the way they were, and it was fine to use, but I think maybe if I got to grips with how to use the satchel head, it could have made filming easier for me, especially in some scenes, which in one scene there is a lot of movement when she's coming over to him while he's sitting on the floor, and she bends up and moves a lot, and having it at a low position especially, and the camera, it was quite tricky for me. I'd never really done that before with that sort of camera, especially the weight of the camera, especially on the floor. It took a lot of energy out of me, and after doing it a few times, I definitely got the hang of the movement and the way she was moving. But there are times where, you know, it would have been a great take if I had the movement down right. Yeah, it's one of those things, again, it's experience I need to get used to, maybe taking a DSLR out and just practicing with the tripod and just getting used to using one, and, you know, maybe having a workshop with someone moving around and stuff, and I just get used to their movements. But other than that, I think, you know, it went well, the movement. When we got the final take, which was the best one, we had moments where I try and talk to her and say, sorry, could you maybe go a bit slower? And, you know, because it's quite tricky to frame up with you when you're going so quick when you move up. But again, I could have maybe moved up a bit quicker, but I didn't want to make it a sudden jolt in a way, so I didn't want to kind of make it really jarring. So I just had to work with what I had, and, you know, there is room for improvement.